Today on Investigate TV, special education guaranteed for those who need it, but many students are denied help. We speak to a mother fighting for her kids.
I was trying to advocate for them. No matter how hard I tried, it still wasn't helping them.
Plus, the federal government breaks its promise, straining school districts. A U.S. senator says students are paying the price.
The federal government has shortchanged schools, and the impact is felt by kids with disabilities.
And taxpayer money intended to educate children paying for Netflix accounts, karate classes, even dolls.
$1,700 a year?
$1,700 per child per year.
Investigate TV starts right now. Hello and welcome to Investigate TV. I'm Lee Zurich. Across the country, roughly 7 million students in public school special education programs. That's about 15% of total enrollment. Federal law stipulates students with disabilities will have access to free public education with appropriate accommodations. But qualifying for these programs can be a grueling battle, and where you live plays a factor. Our Josie Sturman has more in unequal education.
I got a new dinosaur.
With a couple of pillows, a few chairs, and a lot of imagination, kids can turn a rooftop patio into their very own Jurassic Park.
He's a triceratops.
The Goodwin brothers don't need much to amuse themselves. With their creative minds, they are the entertainment.
Well, it's definitely an adventure having 3 boys for sure, and they each have their own unique personality.
Those unique personalities carry over from playtime into how each one learns.
Why does dragons love tacos?
But as their mother Edith has discovered, the public education system doesn't always value her son's differences.
I felt like at times, maybe I was failing them as a parent because, I was trying to advocate for them. No matter how hard I tried, it still wasn't helping them.
Goodwin has spent years trying to get help for her boys when it comes to their challenges in the classroom. It's been a battle for her oldest, 11-year-old Joseph. Even though she says he began struggling with speech delays as a toddler and was later diagnosed with ADHD and autism, he only qualified for special education 3 years ago.
He did want to try. He was making an effort, and yet he wasn't receiving the help that he needed to progress. As I start from the back.
The struggle to get Joseph's services is all documented in this binder, stuffed with medical evaluations, educational assessments, report cards, everything to build a case on his behalf.
This is a massive undertaking to keep up with this.
Yes.
Goodwin had to keep track as their family moved around. In their travel, she got a master class in the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, the government's primary special education law. It's designed to offer free public education and protect the rights of the more than 7 million students enrolled in special ed programs in schools across the nation. It covers accommodations for everything from providing blind students Braille books to extra time for reading assignments for students with dyslexia.
There was plenty of evidence.
But Goodwin quickly learned how the law is carried out depends on where you live, with Joseph failing to qualify in New Mexico, requiring a state mediator to get evaluated in Idaho, qualifying with ease in Oregon, and then needing a repeat evaluation in Colorado when the state wouldn't accept the one done by his doctor. That's all before the family returned to Oregon once more.
What do you think about the fact that there are so many differences from state to state?
Yes, I was so totally amazed by that because, it's supposed to be a federal program. It's supposed to be uniform. It's supposed to be services that they are entitled to have, nationwide.
It's an issue pointed out in a report by Watchdogs at the Government Accountability Office 3 years ago, highlighting that a student eligible for services in one state might be ineligible in another. But our national investigative team wanted to dig deeper into the problematic patchwork of special education, analyzing the eligibility and evaluation policies from all 50 states, mapping out the differences. We found major disparities from state to state, including how long schools can take to evaluate and place students, with some like Connecticut doing it in a maximum of 45 school days, while children in North Carolina and Washington may have to wait twice as long.
It just makes kids who may be delayed even more delayed.
We took our findings to Katie Neese, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services for the U.S. Department of Education.
What do you say to parents who were thinking, why should the wait times matter based on where I live?
They shouldn't. I mean, it's just, it shouldn't be. And the thought of making a child and a family wait in order to get the services that their child needs, that's going to influence the rest of their lives, it's not acceptable.
But that's not all our investigation found. We also discovered variations in who can assess whether students qualify, what age services cap out, and how states actually define the 13 official disabilities listed in the IDEA. For example, in South Dakota, there are very specific measurements for deafness and hearing loss. But just across the border, Nebraska says it has flexibility, and any child with hearing loss of any degree might be eligible for services. Experts tell us the differences are not necessarily a bad thing, as the law is designed to be a framework for states, giving them the room to implement special education in ways that work most effectively for them.
There's a lot of variability across states. There's also variability within states. Need a lot of flexibility, but we also need to have, what is the bottom line?
Anna Brennan has been studying special education for years and is an associate professor at Indiana University. She says states have their own formulas for what qualifies children for special education, and that's just getting started with services. When it comes to actually meeting the federal law for carrying out what's guaranteed, many states fall short. In a report to Congress last year, the Department of Education put more than 20 states and D.C. on a list, noting they needed assistance meeting IDEA for 2 or more years. 2 states, New York and Vermont, were classified as needing intervention.
If this law has been on the books for more than 40 years, but you still have almost 24 states who can't meet their requirements, what does that say about the system?
That we have a lot of work to do.
Kids are lost when we don't take care of them in schools, and that's true for all kids. When we create schools that are not welcoming, that are not democratic, we lose them, and we lose all of their talents. So society pays when we don't take care of our kids, right?
Who pays for special education programming is its own test of the system. While the federal government lays out the rules with IDEA, Brennan points out it's the local and state governments that have to fund what's needed, leaving students with only the services the district they live in can afford.
Across the country, there are not enough resources in schools, period, for kids with disability, even more so. I think that is a challenge for all of us. If we really cared about this, we would be paying attention to it, and we would be financing it and funding it at the levels it needs.
Moms like Edith Goodwin are well schooled on the need for special education that she says has helped her sons thrive. They're all enrolled in programs now, but she worries what will happen if the family moves again.
Yes, they're getting, a great education here in Oregon, but you go to another state, we'll have to do the process all over again. Just because they were in school and just because there is special education, that does not guarantee an education.
And Lee, one of the biggest shortfalls when it comes to special education is a massive lack of teachers. So Education Secretary Miguel Cardona requested an additional $155 million in fiscal 2023 to better support and prepare teachers. He also wants to clear more pathways for any educators who might want to take on that specialty.
Thanks, Josie. To keep up with our latest investigations, follow us on social media. We're at InvestigateTV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Coming up, the federal government dodges financial commitments, but the Department of Education says it's a pay now or pay later situation.
If we gave more kids more opportunities in school, they're going to be independent adults.
That's after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. In 1975, the federal government agreed to help fund the country's special education programs. But states aren't getting all of their money. Our White House correspondent and senior national editor John Decker explains.
Nearly 5 decades ago, Congress made a promise. The federal government would pay 40% of the average cost for every special education student enrolled in a public school. But for more than 7 million students, that promise has not been kept. As of fiscal year 2020, a little over 13% of the cost has actually been covered. Katie Neese is the Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services at the U.S. Department of Education.
This administration's been working very hard to try to get those additional resources to states to support the education system.
But after 1.5 years in power, the administration has so far been unsuccessful.
We're going to pay for the needs of these individuals one way or the other. And if we gave more kids more opportunities in school, they're going to be independent adults. They're going to need less supports throughout the rest of their lives. I kind of feel pay me now or pay me later. The investments we make in education for students with disabilities, we will reap the benefits of that in the decades to come.
In fact, according to the National Education Association, the shortfall last year nationwide for the Disabilities Education Act was more than $23.5 billion. Hoping to address this issue, Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who along with California Congressman Jared Huffman, has introduced the IDEA Full Funding Act. The legislation would offer permanent and mandatory funding to grant programs to help states and outlying areas with special education and related services for children with disabilities.
I think that the fact that the federal government has shortchanged schools and not met this commitment has meant that local schools throughout the country also are shortchanging students in their budgets. And the impact is felt by kids with disabilities.
Now, explain to me why there might be opposition to an idea that seems to me would be bipartisan.
Well, we have bipartisan support in the House, but in the Senate, we have all Democratic co-sponsors. We welcome a Republican co-sponsor. This obviously has a price tag. It does cost money, but of course, it's to keep the commitment the federal government made.
Senator Van Hollen says his bill would mean more special ed teachers and significantly more resources in the classroom to help students with disabilities. The proposed legislation is supported by the American Federation of Teachers, the School Superintendent Association, and more than 90 other national organizations. Going without this federal funding would likely mean continued pressure on school budgets throughout the country.
Thanks, John. Up next, public schools receiving state funding for students who never entered district classrooms. And these students get taxpayer money for Amazon subscriptions, karate classes, even expensive dolls. Hear how after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. Homeschooling surged during the height of COVID. Now in-person classes have resumed, but homeschooling numbers remain higher than pre-pandemic levels. Some parents are doing it the traditional way, cutting ties with school districts and shouldering the cost themselves. Others are homeschooling with the help of taxpayer money. We explain in this investigation. By the book. A public school parent tells friends on Facebook she paid for the stack of Christmas presents with taxpayer money.
State education resources are not to be spent on personalized items.
Items like a pricey American Girl doll that for history students can again be paid for by taxpayer dollars.
If you love history, your child loves history, you can buy an American Girl doll for your child in the name of history.
We found thousands of families across the country are able to use public school dollars to buy Netflix subscriptions, basketball goals, hoverboards, or even karate lessons and snorkeling equipment. And for the parents, it's all just a part of a school program designed by for-profit companies, approved by and funneled through school districts. $1,700 a year?
$1,700 per child per year.
That's a lot of money.
It absolutely is.
But it's taxpayer money, too.
It absolutely is.
Kylene Varner homeschools her 3 kids in Indiana, one of the states where this program operates. She pays for their education, including supplies, out of her own pocket. So she was curious when she discovered a group of private companies that as of January of 2022 was operating in at least 7 states across the country. That offers a unique public school path for parents and students, essentially homeschooling with the backing of a school district, including some financial support.
In many ways, they are behaving like homeschool families, but they're using taxpayer dollars to do it.
One of the largest of these private operators in the country is Utah-based TechTrep Academy. Our analysis of records from 6 states shows last school year TechTrep Academy and its sister company were paid at least $45 million in public funding. TechTrep declined our repeated requests for interviews, but has touted its program in YouTube videos.
And it's essential to involve parents in the personalization of a child's education.
Here's how the model works. School districts sign an agreement with one of these companies, like TechTrep Academy, to be a bridge program. The school district keeps some of the money and then sends a percentage of their state funding to the provider. Some of that money goes to parents to pay for education supplies, which may include the dolls and presents we told you about earlier. The rest stays with the company. Before Rich Moore retired as a superintendent of a school district in Idaho, he brought in companies including TechTrep Academy to start the Idaho Home Learning Academy.
We like innovation and being on the leading edge of doing good things in education.
The district made the academy partners sign an exclusive contract in the state. They can't operate in any other county. What that means is kids from other districts enroll here to be in the program.
Your county population is about 4,700. You have about, 850 kids in your schools. Then you have 6,100 kids that you're servicing through this Home Learning Academy. Does it seem odd that you have more kids in the Home Learning Academy than in your county?
I think it would, if you're going by an old paradigm, I think that would seem odd. I think that in our day and age where things are becoming more and more virtual, I think that that's not odd at all. I think that's the trend.
Our national investigative team obtained emails from state and district officials about TechTrep Academy and its sister company, My Tech High. In those, we found officials questioning parts of the program. For example, in Idaho, concerns about parents being in charge of instruction with only minimal contact with a certified teacher required.
But the parents aren't forced to interact with the teacher. They're not forced to go to the teacher if they don't want to.
There is not a requirement unless they are required to make sure that they submit their learning artifacts to make sure that the teacher can see if the student is being successful in mastering those learning standards.
The laws for how programs like TechTrep Academy or similar companies are allowed to operate differ state to state, and some of those laws may be changing. The National Conference of State Legislatures found of the 120 bills related to school choice considered in 2021 across 37 states, more than a third involved education savings accounts state funding families could use for education expenses. Up next, threats of prosecution, demands for hefty fines, and scammers manipulating your colleagues to deceive you.
I said, "This is a joke, right?" And she's like, "No."
One woman's story after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. Scammers find a new way to catch you with your guard down. Con artists are targeting people at work and using their co-workers to reach them. Hannah Catlin from our station in Cleveland has the details.
Here at this elementary school, the woman in charge of answering the phone knew better, and the teacher the scammers were after is lucky she did.
Good morning, Sarar Elementary, Mrs. Gorey speaking. Elementary school secretaries are busy from the minute we walk in. We answer phones, we take care of all the teachers' needs, we take care of the kids' needs.
In her 22 years of working for Strongsville schools, Lynn Gorey had never gotten a call quite like the one she did a few weeks ago.
The man said he was a deputy with the sheriff's department and that one of our teachers had not shown up for jury duty and he needed to talk to her immediately.
Did he have an accent or anything?
No.
So it was somewhat believable at first.
Right. He said he gave me deputy's name, he gave me judges' names, he gave us a court case number.
Skeptical, she called the teacher he requested down to her office.
I said, this is a joke, right? And she's like, no.
Ring and? Michaela Buckley is in her first year of teaching special ed here at Sarar Elementary.
I was scared.
Buckley called the man back in Mrs. Gorey's office.
They said that they needed to call me on my cell phone and to stay on the phone with them while I drove from here down to the courthouse on West 3rd.
Thankfully, Gorey thought to call the police and the courthouse directly.
And they immediately put me to the scam department. We told them everything that he said, and they said, absolutely, do not go. That is not the truth.
Sadly, our partners at the Cuyahoga County Scam Squad say they've taken other similar reports, specifically from educators recently.
You hungry? It's not like we are like high income, like high social status, like anything.
But because the message is coming from someone they trust, the school secretary, it makes the information seem more legit.
It was just crazy to me that they called my building and asked specifically for me.
The Department of Consumer Affairs says a teacher in Cleveland got the message handed off to her and ended up losing $2,000 to the scam. The Scam Squad wants everyone to know that law enforcement will not call you about missed jury duty or threaten arrest because of it. Police never ask people to pay fees in gift cards or Bitcoin. And the scammer trying to get you in your car? It's one of the ploys that makes the situation seem more real. It also makes the victim more likely to accept the offer to pay a fee in exchange for hassling with the supposed courts.
It bothers me if these scam artists took the time that they take to make up these scams and actually just got a job and put it to work. They'd be better off.
I'm like, I have a whole career. This is my first year teaching, and I'm like, how is this going to affect me?
The teachers have enough on their plates.
All right, everybody.
They don't need to worry about these kind of things.
Mrs. Gorey did exactly what experts want everyone to, though.
I was very thankful that Lynn was super cautious. She's the best.
Thanks, Hannah. Want to hear more stories like this? Check out the Investigate TV YouTube page for our latest content and partnerships. And that's it for us. Thanks for joining us here on Investigate TV. We'll see you next week.